So I was working in the health club industry doing sales and management, and I was working in Maryland primarily, and then they had me transfer to Reston, and I was living in Bethesda at the time. So I did the commute for a little bit, and then they promoted me to go out to the Sterling location, and I was like, all right, this is a little bit too far from Bethesda.
Yeah.
So then I moved to Reston, and then they moved me to Centerville, so I stayed in Reston, and then I primarily just worked in Virginia, started doing real estate, and there was no reason to go back to Maryland.
So what did you do before real estate?
Sales and management,
Okay.
so different companies. So I was at Lifetime Fitness
Okay. Yeah,
as
you said
a,
health. Yeah.
yeah, so sales director, like people coming in for memberships, buying personal training, different kind of packages for their family. So I was in charge of the sales team there for a couple locations. And then I left there and went to the Carfax corporate office and was an inside sales director for the inside sales team there. And that went really well. But I had a great opportunity to get into real estate and been doing it ever since.
I was going to say, what have you carried on from all those other positions within the sales world? Like, is it all pretty much the same thing, whether you're selling health club memberships or houses?
It's really just the communication piece because dealing with salespeople, you're dealing with customers and your clients are your customers. And you have to impress them, you have to listen to them, and you have to get them to like you because people buy from who they like, right?
Agreed.
So you wouldn't hire a realtor you don't like, just like you wouldn't buy from somebody you don't like, right? So just relationships and communication and rapport.
There we go. And how do you do that? How do you build rapport? How do you get people to like you when they've just met you and you're trying to get them to
Smile,
check out?
ask them about them. People like talking about themselves. They don't want to hear about someone else the entire time. So getting to know them, getting to know what's important to them, and if they're interested in a product or a service, getting to know what they want and what they don't want from that product or service. And then you talk, right? But it's key is I call it discovery, and that's true with sales in any fashion, no matter where you're selling a gym membership, a car, or trying to get a client for real estate. It's all about discovery, finding out what's important to them, overcoming objections up front so you know what they don't want, and then doing your best job presenting yourself or the product.
Do you have any like horror stories from your many years in sales?
Not really. I mean, not many horror stories. I mean, a couple of positions I had were call centers. So, trying to get people excited about making 60, 70 calls a day sometimes can be a little challenging
Yeah.
because you can get burnt out doing that, right? And that's kind of why I left that world because after a while, I'm like, I'm hearing myself what I'm saying to my team, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm not the one making 70 calls a day. So it's like in my head, I'm like, if I can't get behind it and be enthusiastic about it anymore, then it's time for a change. So
That would be hard to get excited about making 70 calls a day.
yeah, I mean, the ones that were doing it were making good money, but the ones that weren't were just you could just tell it wasn't their game.
So the ones that are doing really well, what do you have any tips that you've learned from them on how they succeeded or what made them really good?
Well, I mean, it's when you hear 70 calls a day, you think, that's a lot of calls, right? How am I going to make 70 calls a day? You take breaks in between, you plan your day, right? Focus for 2 or 3 hours on making those calls. Luckily, at the companies I was at, there was lots of distractions. So there was places to go. Like one company had video games and a golf putting area, ping pong. So like, hey, go take a break, right? You just made like 30 calls. Like, go take a break, refresh, sharpen the saw, come on back, right? But the ones that didn't, you wouldn't really see them take breaks. You would just see them at their desk, like on their phone, doing something they shouldn't be doing, right? And that was the most challenging part is getting to motivate people to do that. And then some people just aren't salespeople, right?
Yeah.
They're good with customers, but they're not necessarily, they don't have that hunger or that drive to win. They weren't as competitive as the ones that were consistent on a daily basis.
Are you are you carrying some of those skills into being an agent or do you not do business like that with the calls?
It's different because you don't have to make 70 calls a day as a realtor. You certainly have to make calls and receive calls, but it's more about prospecting strategically, having different marketing methods and different lead generation methods to where maybe the leads come to you, hopefully, and but you still have to make calls, but certainly not 70 a day. But those phone skills and the discovery piece and listening are key, especially with real estate, because it's a big transaction. Whether they're selling a house or buying a house, it's sometimes the biggest transaction of somebody's life, right?
Yeah.
So you can't just go in and try and win the business without listening to them, whatever the case may be, buying or selling.
What's the thing that you love most about being a real estate agent now?
Freedom. I don't like the interest rates right now. Nobody does, but they're on the way down. But I like that it's an industry that's never going anywhere, right? It doesn't matter what the economy is or what the climate is. People are always going to need to buy or sell a home. Things happen, right? Even with high rates. The problem has been inventory recently, in recent years. Not enough houses on the market, but there's still houses on the market. So who's selling, right? People moving, you have military, you have political, new campaigns that have new people coming in and out. Life changes, people having kids, getting divorced, getting married. So like it's always going to be there. It'll go up and down, but it'll always be there. That's what I like most about it.
How do you market through the ups and downs of real estate?
Well, in the ups, there's typically a lot
You
of
just answered your phone.
yeah. In the ups, I mean, typically there's tons of business and people are either there's an influx of buyers and sellers, and in the downs, like I would say now is it's starting to trend back up, but in the downs you have to get strategic with how you're acquiring leads. You have to use your sphere of influence, your SOI, to try to get clients, that people that already know you, right? Hey, even though might not want to buy a home or sell a home right now, do you know anyone that does, right? And if you do, give them my card or have them give me a call. So getting a little bit more creative in the downs, but being available. The best ability is availability. And in the ups, you have to be available. You can't be targeted on one person or two people. You have to be available at all times. But in the ups, it's about being organized and being strategic and being able to plan your day. So,
What's something that you wish either your future clients or your past clients knew about what it looks like or what it takes to buy or sell their home that they didn't know?
buying a home is, it depends on the market though. So like right now, buyers can be a little bit more picky. There's a little bit more room for negotiation. So as a buyer, you have to be cognizant about the market. What kind of market am I buying in? Am I buying in a market where I'm gonna have to compete with 10 people on this house? You have to be prepared for that mentally, financially, right? Timeline wise. In a market where you can be more picky, don't get greedy, right? Don't be the buyer that comes in 50,000 below the asking price and expect your offer to get accepted unless the house price calls for it, right? So just being realistic on what market you're buying in. For sellers, sometimes sellers think their house is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and sometimes we have to be a little bit honest with them in a nice way, professional way, that hey, if this were my home and I wanted to get top dollar for my home, here's what I would do to get top dollar. I would paint this, I would remove these rugs, whatever it may be, right? But you have to be careful because people are very proud of their home typically. So you have to say it the right way. If this were my home, here's what I would do, instead of telling them, oh, you have to do this. They don't
Or have the designer do it.
yeah.
The
Yeah.
stager
Just
do it.
have the stager come in and be the bad guy or girl, right? So and that's another good thing about good realtors, have a network of people, whether it be contractors, whether it be landscapers, stagers, design, right? Obviously, we have loan officers and all kinds of title companies, but before you even get to that point, if they're selling a home, we have to get that home ready, right? And some people want to sell their home the way it is, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But if it were my home, here's what I would do. And I have this great person, right, that can come in and give you those recommendations.
Awesome.
And then you make the decision.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of like what you would, the knowledge you pass on to someone else, right?
Yeah.
Your
Build a
future
network,
clients.
right? Be strategic, and then know what market you're in as a realtor, but then also as a customer, know what market you're trying to buy or sell in.
How should somebody pick their agent? Like, what are some of the most important qualities?
Someone who's going to outwork the other person, someone who's going to be communicative, someone who's going to be available. Personalities don't have to match per se, but again, people won't buy from who they like, right? So you have to be likable, right? But not fake.
Yeah.
Be yourself, but kind of adapt yourself to that person, right? Some people talk fast, some people talk slow. Sometimes there's a language barrier, right? So you just have to be cognizant of who you're talking to as a realtor to the customer. But as far as a customer selecting a realtor, there's plenty of people out there with more experience than me, but there's not many people out there that are going to outwork me. So that's what I tell people when they're like, well, I know I have a friend that's been doing it 20 years. I'm like, that's great. Is your friend going to be willing to do an open house every weekend until we get your house sold? Is your friend going to have this on 30 different websites? How are they going to market your home, right?
Yeah.
How many homes have they sold in this area? So digging a little bit deeper to sell yourself, but then acknowledging that you're going to be available at all times and no one's going to outwork you.
That's what I was going to ask is, yeah, how do you tell that to somebody or how do you identify that when you're talking to somebody for the first time? Like if I'm looking to buy a house, how would I know that about you? Is it you saying that? Is it like having references for other clients, the reviews that you have up there, kind of all saying the similar things?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're asking, hey, why should I choose you? I can provide you with plenty of references. I can provide you with reviews. You've also told me before I came here what kind of houses you're looking for, and I've brought you a list of homes that are active or coming soon on the market that already match your needs. So I've already done the research for you. Now you just tell me which house you want to go see, and we'll see what we can do.
I like that. You're showing up prepared. You're showing up providing value. You're not waiting until they say, yes, we're going to work together. You're like,
You assume the sale.
yeah, there we go.
Yep.
It's almost like we've done sales before.
A time or two. Yeah.
What do you do outside of work?
I love to travel. I love sports. All DC. So go DC teams, even though we all suck right now. But love to travel, love sports. I like fitness. I like trying new restaurants. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there's other stuff, but those are the big things.
Where have you been traveling wise? Anywhere fun?
I've been to South America. I've been all over this country. Been to Canada. I'm due for a European tour, so that's probably my next big venture. Italy, Greece, France, Ireland. I'm Irish, so
Okay.
got to go to the homeland.
Homeland, yeah.
But yeah, I love anywhere warm. So I typically, in the winter months when real estate slows down, I typically plan trips outside of the snowy areas.
Smart. What is that like? You travel whenever it's snowbird, or I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, I wish I could go for 3, 4 months. That'd be great. But like Mexico, San Diego, Florida. So anywhere warmer than Virginia from November till February. So
That's where you're usually at. Love it.
yeah.
Looking out for the next 3 to 5 years, where do you see yourself? What are you doing? How are you navigating the real estate world?
So it's ever changing, right? It's ever changing as far as the economy. This area is a little bit different than if you look at the country as a broad scope. Virginia, Maryland, DC area is a little bit more insulated due to the government being here. There's a lot more stability, right? So here there are waves, but the waves are bigger in other parts of the country. So continuing to navigate how the market goes up and down, right? Adjusting myself, whether it's an influx or non-influx of people interested in buying or selling. I have a great mentor with the brokerage I'm at, so I lean on him for a lot of guidance. But doing different marketing efforts, there's an initiative we have right now with NIL, familiar with NIL, which is for college athletes. They now can make money when they previously couldn't. So we're going to be hopefully starting a program with NIL athletes where they're going to receive money for sponsorships and other things from schools, and investing that money into real estate at an early age versus blowing it on cars and jewelry and things like that, which they certainly can do, but using some of that money in a smart way for the ones that are interested. But we'll have some former athletes that I'm working with that are now loan officers. They're actually going to be, they have that connection with those athletes, local athletes. Hopefully it's all local athletes because I'm not going to go to South Carolina to meet with somebody.
But you might go to Italy.
I'll go to Italy. Yeah.
Might need to work on
Get
your
an
license
Italian
for it,
meeting. Yeah. But so that's a big initiative, and that's never been around before. College athletes historically haven't been paid for sponsorships. There was laws against them receiving money. If they did, they got in trouble. Now legally they can, and the good ones, and even the ones that aren't that good, are still going to receive a substantial amount of money. So our goal would be to get in front of them with presentations and educate them on what the long-term benefits of owning homes are, whether it
I
be
think
just
that's
their personal
smart.
residence or investment properties or for their family, for themselves, whatever that may be. So that'll be a trend that'll just continue to grow and grow and grow. And we're trying to get ahead of the curve because this is a recent event that just happened. So
Yeah, that's really smart. Like you're staying on top of what's coming. You're not like reacting to what's already happened.
right.
So that's awesome. So yeah, that's looking out for the next 3 to 5 years. In terms of locally with real estate, what does your crystal ball say in terms of somebody who is wanting to invest in our area? Because we all know that everything just goes up
Right.
in terms of prices and the value of the assets.
I would say don't wait to buy real estate. Buy real estate and wait.
Even with the fun interest rates.
Sure. Because you can always refinance. Marry the house, date the rate.
I hear that again and again. What does the process look like for buying a home? Somebody who's never bought before.
So step one would be to understand your timeline, but also know what you're approved for. So I'll take people out that haven't necessarily gotten fully approved for a loan yet or pre-approved, but you don't want to show people houses they can't afford because then you're wasting their time and yours, right? So being honest and upfront about it. What kind of house are you looking for? What's your timeline? What area are you looking for? Have you spoken to anyone about getting a loan for the home? And if the answer is no, as a realtor, you can make an assumption if they give you enough information for maybe what range they'd get approved in, but that's not our profession. So we would refer them to, they can have a loan officer of their choosing, but we can also refer them to people that we know that can assist them in getting that pre-approval number. And then you go shopping,
It's the fun part, right?
right?
In terms of how you want your clients to describe you, if they're recommending you to somebody else, in your head, what do you envision them saying? Or what do you hope they would say?
Leaving no stone unturned, eccentric, high energy, driven, someone that's going to go to the ends to make it happen, whether it be buying their home, selling their home, getting their home ready for sale in a short period of time, finding them a home in a short period of time if their timeline's short, aligning them and connecting them with my network. I have a network of vast contractors, loan officers, and there's different fits for different people, different fits for different homes and situations. So, my friends always say, Jeff's the I got a guy. Got a guy for that. Got a guy for that. So if you're like, I need this done to my home, like 99% chance I have somebody that can help you.
Oh, that's good.
Like from the foundation and the dirt all the way up to the roof and everything in between.
Oh,
So
nice. So you've got a guy.
I got a guy. Or a girl.
There you go. You've got a person.
Yeah, there's somebody.
In terms of how do you balance your personal life and your work life? Because I know agents, like you said, they're always available. So how do you navigate that?
I mean, the best ability is availability, but typically I try to have Sundays as my day where, especially during football season,
Yeah.
that is my day.
And so if somebody calls you and they're like, there's an open house because they're always happening on Sundays, would you say like, excuse me, I'll refer you to my friend who's going to take you out, or are you just going to
So it depends if I'm already,
sitting down watching
if I'm home watching football and that's all I'm doing.
Yeah.
And you're someone that's interested in buying a home and we've been looking and then you're like, hey, this one looks like the one, we're going.
Yeah.
Right? But if I'm already at the football stadium and you call me and say, hey, I'd be happy to set a private appointment for you later this evening once I get home,
Oh, there we go.
or potentially tomorrow if that doesn't work.
Yeah.
That way we'll have an hour to see the house without any agent there trying to talk to us or any other potential buyers that might throw you off or distract you.
Yeah.
Or I could even say, you're welcome to go see it. And then we could set up a private appointment for us to go together as well.
Oh, that's right.
Because if the open house,
yeah,
nothing's stopping
just
you
go.
from going, right?
That's true.
So,
That's right.
but very few chances if somebody wanted to go see a property, I would turn it down.
Yeah.
So
I just had to throw that in if
Yeah.
it was in the middle of the football game.
if I'm home or, not, because I go to a lot of the games.
Yeah. Okay.
So if I'm in Landover and you say, I want to go see this house in Centerville, and I'm already in Landover, it's going to be almost impossible for me to
Yeah.
get out. I mean, not impossible, but I typically ride with friends when I go there, so I wouldn't even have a vehicle. So you know what I mean? So
I just messed
like
with
I
you.
said, no, I know, but that's the
Like, I'm
real
gonna try to make
situation.
it happen, but more than likely, I don't have transportation to get there.
Can you go see the house today? Absolutely. Can we go see the house today? Yes, we can. But I'll set an appointment for us later.
Yeah.
That's if I'm unavailable, but 98% of the time I am.
You
So,
football fans are just.
hey, you got to be passionate about
I know.
something, right? You got to have our time, work hard, play hard,
There we
right?
go.
And when that balance, right?
There's that
Because if you're
balance.
always available, and then
I agree. No, my phone's off on
yeah.
the weekends. Like I'm available to a couple people. That's it.
See, I can't do that.
I
So
know it's different. No, I know, but I'm saying I 100% believe in, and I want to work with clients that respect that boundary. But I also know in your industry and your career, like it's between somebody getting a house and not getting a house. Not necessarily right now in this industry or in this climate, right? There's a lot
a little bit more
more
flexibility.
more
There's
flexibility.
not as much urgency as there was maybe 2 years ago, where if you don't see it this weekend, it's gone, right? Or if you
Well,
don't see it by
wasn't
5 o'clock,
I was gonna say I was seeing
offer
things.
deadline at 5. Yeah,
It
we're
was
seeing less and
crazy.
less of those.
Yeah, that was insane.
But as rates come down, we'll start seeing more and more.
I've heard the same thing. Yeah, people are like, if you're interested, now is the time because you don't have the same urgency as before.
Yeah, and there's more negotiating power. So if a home's listed at 700,000, it's on the market for 3-4 weeks. I would advise my client. I'd look at the comps, right? But then I advise my client. This house has been on the market a month. I called the agent. They haven't had any offers or very, very low offers. So we can go in with these contingencies, allow you to get a home inspection, gives you time to see the home, see if there's anything that you might want to pull out of the home.
Yeah.
But you can also ask for closing cost help or go in at a lower price, right? And then you negotiate. That's the fun part.
The negotiation.
That's the fun part.
Fun part for you.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they accept our first offer.
Exactly.
Right?
That's right. So if you weren't an agent, what would you be doing? A real estate agent.
Ooh, probably something with sports because my biggest passion, or travel. Travel agent, or I would love to be a sports agent. That'd probably be stressful.
Like where you're representing other athletes. Okay. Same thing, negotiating, getting different.
You're dealing with
Deals.
21-year-old millionaires, right? So I've sold a couple NFL players properties, helped them buy and sell, and they're a handful sometimes. Sometimes it's smooth, sometimes it's like,
Babysitting.
Right.
You didn't say that, I said that. Okay, so if you could have, just to kind of wrap things up here, if you could have one message to the world, whether it's specific with real estate or off the wall, something completely unrelated, what would that message be?
Work hard, be respectful, and it's not all about having a big circle of friends or a network. It's about having a trusted circle. And as I've gotten older, I've realized I keep a smaller circle of people like close to me, but I keep a big circle of influencers and acquaintances that I stay in touch with, right? But then the people I see daily or weekly or weekends, I try to keep a tighter circle around that. And just work hard and enjoy yourself. I mean, life's short, right? And I truly believe in work hard, play hard, and work-life balance, right? But try to smile every day. Try to look at the bright side. Don't get down on the downs, right? And just stay positive. If you only get one life, you got to enjoy it.
That's right. In terms of keeping that small circle, did something happen that made you make that realization?
No, not really. It's just you realize I like to be a person of value. And sometimes you realize the bigger circle you have to look around the room and just say, or around the circle, if you will, and just say, what value does this person bring me? Is there more good than bad or bad than good, right? Is there more positives than negatives, right? And if it's not a balance and it's balanced the wrong way, unfortunately, sometimes you have to close that part of the circle, right? And then as you get older, you just realize you want to be a person of value and you want that circle to be people of value.
Yeah.
No matter what the value is, right? It could be business, it could be personal, it could be whatever, right? So
I love that. And then you have the bigger circle. That way you can help connect.
there's multiple circles,
Yeah,
right? There's
yeah.
your inner circle, there's your professional circle, there's your personal, I guess, acquaintance, if you will, circle, and then there's your circle of people that maybe you know but you haven't talked to in a while.
Yeah.
And then there's people outside the circle.
Yeah.
What was that movie? That Circle of Trust?
Yeah.
What was that?
I forgot.
Meet the Parents.
Yes. That's right.
You're outside the circle of trust now.
That's right.
Yeah.
You're going to stay out there for a reason.
Am I back in the circle now?
That's funny. Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the Alamon Show. I appreciate your time and your wisdom.
Thank you. Happy to be here.